7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Good day, NIRSA Network.
Go.
I am Lamont Mayer Jr., your NIRSA live host, and I am 6 months as the official live host, and I keep ending up in the middle of something special. It's like every month I'm ending up in the middle of something special, and today is no different because to my right, your left, someone who is no stranger to impactful decisions, not just in NIRSA, but in the industry. We have our Executive Director of NIRSA, Pam Watts. Pam, how are you doing today?
I'm great today, Lamont. Thanks for having me. This is such a fun channel to get to reach out and share some cool things going on in NIRSA with members. As many of you know, I've been around NIRSA a long time. I think it's been coming up on 20 years, and there's been a lot of ups and downs and pivots and changes and lots of exciting things going on during that time. So it's a great opportunity to come on and share some of that with y'all.
And now I sat down with Pam in Orlando, and that interview is going to come out soon. What better time than what we have going on right now? Because in that interview, we talked about the state of the industry, and we also talked about the direction of the association. And you had some really good nuggets that you dropped in that interview. So make sure you are locked into the YouTube channel, because that's where that interview will be posted at. And then to my right, we just did 90 days highlighting your presidency, and not just your time as president, but we took a little look into your pathway of getting the opportunity of being a president, from you being a student and on up to being a director, and now as the president of the NIRSA Board of Directors. And you are just over 120 days. I hadn't even left you 30 days ago, and here you are making big impactful decisions on behalf of the association. Lashica, how are you?
Hi, Lamont. Everything is going well here. Super excited to be with you again, and also sharing the stage with Pam today. So we're excited for what we're about to tell our NIRSA members.
You can check out that full interview, 90 Days In with Lashica. You can check that out on YouTube as well. Y'all make sure y'all lock into the YouTube channel. All right, so we have our members. We have the institutions, we have the regions, we have partners, we have non-members locking into this big news right here within our association. And ladies, I am just happy to be in the room where it happens right now, okay? But y'all have some big news for our NIRSA network. So I'm going to shut on up and I'm going to let y'all take it away.
Yeah, so many of you know we were scheduled to have our signature event, our annual conference next April in Colorado at Gaylord Rockies. But we had an opportunity to move the conference to National Harbor, Maryland. This is also a Gaylord property that we've been at several years ago. And we are really excited for this change. These contracts were signed pre-pandemic, which means they were all based on the numbers and the size and the expectations that we had in 2019. And as we all know, the world has drastically changed. The ability for members to participate in the annual conference and professional development opportunities has changed. Unfortunately, for many, it's no longer within their means to attend something like that. And so the conference, while still very vibrant, especially you'll know this if you were with us in Orlando this year, is a bit smaller. So Gaylord offered us the opportunity to renegotiate our contracts, and part of that was to move to National Harbor. I want to give a huge shout out to the Colorado Host Committee, who had been really busy planning what was sure to be an outstanding conference that took advantage of a lot of really great local events. But when we called and told them about the news and the type of financial impact and reduction of risk that it meant for NIRSA, I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in impact. They, of course, understood. They were very gracious. They are, on deck, ready to help the Maryland Area Coast Committee that's being put together right now. So I just really want to give a big shout out to our friends in Colorado. But yeah, that's the big news. We'll be in National Harbor, Maryland next spring. Lashica, you were at the 2017 conference when we were there. What do you remember from that venue?
Well, there were a lot of things happening during the conference. We know that. And so we are going to be very intentional because we don't want to sweep that underneath the rug. But the place was beautiful. I do remember it being on the water, lots of eateries, things in walking distance, which we know our NIRSA members love to be able to get off the property and not have to take an Uber. So I think that's going to fit right into what we like to do and be able to do some of the shopping and then take in some of the monuments and be able to do some touring. So all of that's going to be super accessible to our members. And that's something that we know that they have always asked for when we're looking for locations for our signature event.
All right, so big news. Okay, we're moving to National Harbor in Maryland. All right, now I am a huge I'm a pivoter. I love the pivot. Okay, but working in marketing and working in media communications, nothing ever turns out the way you want. So you're always pivoting behind the scenes. So I'm a big person when it comes to pivoting. So as I heard the news, I got immediately excited. But I know there's a lot of work being done behind the scenes when it comes to this. So talk a little bit about how that process took place. Because here I am with you as the executive director, Pam, with you, Lashica, as the president. So I'm pretty sure there had to be many conversations between you two and a lot of work being done in such short period of time. So talk a little bit about how that process was.
So from the NIRSA board perspective, when the information came in that there was this opportunity, immediately we are reading emails, we are trying to get together, and we even got together on a call because this was so important. And we were being very thoughtful and intentional. So when Pam presented the information and wanted our very thoughtful, like, hey, what are you thinking about this? What are y'all thoughts? What are going to be the problems, the issues? What questions can we ask? That board, your board, sent email threads. I can't even know how long, where they had lots of questions and very thoughtful, and they were doing research and trying to figure it out because we really want to make sure we're working for our members. And I never.
Yeah, and Lashica, I know staff felt really supported as we moved through, a pretty big decision from the board and from the finance committee. And, these moves go back, at least 6, if not even 12 and 18 months with everything that's changing in higher ed and the environment that you all are working in and therefore the environment that NIRSA is working in, and really looking strategically about what are the pivots we need to make to focus NIRSA and the resources on the things members need most. Really make sure that we're minimizing financial exposure and risk, like I mentioned in these contracts that we have that are signed years ago, and making sure that the talents of staff, our volunteer, energy and time and resources, our leadership time and resources is really focused on the right things. So yeah, Lamont, a little bit behind the scenes. The minute, many of you know Sierra Smith, our director of events and experiences. The minute we touched down back home from Orlando, she started working on NIRSA 2026 and working with Gaylord to right-size the contract to NIRSA's needs today. Again, all about really being thoughtful about where we're applying our resources and not leaving the association to unnecessary financial and other exposure. And man, it's Sierra's relationships, that she's built up over 20 years that make things like this possible. So she was diligent. She was calling them every other week. And then, they almost didn't put this opportunity in front of us because they thought, oh man, there's no way a client will go for, moving their conference, this close to the event. But they presented it to her and she said, nope, I'll take that up the line. And so she came and talked to me and, like we mentioned, we talked with the board and the finance committee and ultimately made this decision. But big shout out to Sierra, whose, professionalism and relationships really make a lot of this possible.
So when there's necessary change, as there's always going to be necessary change, talk a little bit about how it feels to know that the member voices are still, even though you have to make these moves and sometimes you got to make them quickly. Talk a little bit about how it feels for you, Lashica, to know that the members' voices are still the center of what we're trying to do when we're making these decisions. And for you, Pam, do you feel the members' voices, even with all of these twists and turns, do you feel that the members' voices is still at the very center of everything that we're doing here with 2026 conference?
Oh yeah, Lamont, for sure. I mean, this is not just one decision that the members' voices have been impacting, right? There was a whole tour. We were at regionals. We were asking members their input. We've been trying to make sure the members know that that is why we're here and that we're trying to make fiscally responsible decisions on the behalf of NIRSA. So any conversations we've had in front of state, member, regionals, when we do our town halls, all of that is about gathering that information from our members so that it is a NIRSA that works for all of us, because that is the intent and that's the purpose. And this is just one of those decisions that is more like highlighted because it is one of our signature events. But there have been lots of decisions that have been made that are directly tied to our member feedback.
Nice.
Yeah, and if I could just add to that, I agree with everything that Lashica said. And, again, it's really kudos to the board and to the team at NIRSA for reaching out and being in more frequent and active conversation with members before any of these decisions or pivots need to be made. It's difficult to anticipate what we're going to need to change, but when we're in constant communication with members, when those opportunities present themselves or when those needs arise, we already have the information because we've been in dialogue with members all along. And yeah, maybe there's a couple things to check in on, when a specific situation arrives, but this steady drumbeat of hearing from members, in one-on-one conversations and group conversations, both what they share with their elected leaders, what they share with staff, that's just really, really important right now. The other thing that's really important is continuing to share as quickly as we can, as transparently as we can, these decisions that are made with all of our members, right? The kinds of considerations that went into these decisions, what the decision is, and, what we're getting after next. So, I appreciate this opportunity to do this via social media. There's also emails that go out, websites, all the things. But that's what you can expect, I think, from your NIRSA board, from your staff team, is that we're going to continue to reach out to keep our finger on the pulse of what's going on during this period of rapid change. And that absolutely goes into our thinking and decision making for decisions we don't even know we need to make yet, right?
And look, with the shift in, you mentioned this earlier, and it sparked the thought with the shift in attendance trends and things that's out of our hands. Lashica, you're on the site with budget constraints and institutional support. Is there a feeling of while you're making these changes, there's always opportunities to recenter the mission of NIRSA and what the heart of NIRSA is in the midst of all of these things that's changing, especially the ones that's out of our control?
Oh, always, always.
Yeah, I think the core of what, NIRSA offers, which is, the learning, the networking, the advocacy that the field needs, those core purposes, those core areas that we focus on, to advance the field, those don't change. Where they show up, how frequently they show up, and what formats they show up, that changes, right? So, when members are experiencing a time where professional development budgets are hard, where travel costs are high, we make the pivots to offer, either more localized, lower cost things or online, right? The opportunity of online, particularly the last 5 years, is huge. So one of the things NIRSA has been doing the last on 2+ years is really building out our online content. So there's the Rec 101 courses, of course, there's more webinars, there's promising practices, there's lots of there's the upcoming cohorts, there's lots of different ways we're offering opportunities for that same learning and networking and advocacy, but in this different format. The other thing I really want to highlight about the 2026 conference, because this is a shift, is we were hearing from members, and Lashica was such a champion for this, that NIRSA, the NIRSA conference really needs to be a one-stop shop, that many attendees, that is the one thing they can do each year. And so bringing back a more diverse range of content, we have a whole back to basics theme embedded in the conference this year to
know.
really bring back some of that functional area content. See how happy I'm making her. Yeah, that back to basics, functional area content, while not losing, the other, leadership and management and executive level content that people come to expect from the NIRSA annual conference. So, it's a tall order to make an event for, over 1,000 people, a one-stop shop, but, we're gonna lean into it as hard as we can.
Well, Pam, that is because that is what some of our members, and not
Yep.
some, I mean, we heard that. And
Yep.
I think that's just attributing to the times that we're in, is that
Mhm.
we are hiring individuals who are not necessarily came up the same way that some of us did, right? And so they need some of that basic fundamental things, and
Mhm.
being able to provide that at our signature event, I think is crucial and important. And so we're listening to our members, and that's what they want, and we're going to provide that.
Yep.
Great.
All right, so last time, new location for the 2026 Conference and Campus Recreation Expo. I say it is the place to be every year. Tell them one more time where we're going.
National Harbor, Maryland.
National Harbor, Maryland. Hey, members, institutions, regions 1 through 6, our great North region in Canada, our partners. Hey, some of our partners are in shouting distance of National Harbor. Sanders, B&D, make your stamp on 2026 conference. Make sure you make an impact. We're in your backyard, all right? We thank y'all. Our volunteers. We can't go without thanking the volunteers. Y'all are really the engine that runs this train here. We thank y'all so much for y'all patience. We thank y'all for tuning in and listening to these two great leaders. Hand clap it up for these two great leaders that I have on this call with us. We thank y'all so much for all of the work that y'all are doing. And I, for one, I am looking forward to having an amazing conference in National Harbor, Maryland. I hope y'all are too, and I hope to see you there. Ladies, thank y'all so much.
Thanks
On
a
to
lot.
Maryland. Yes.
Come on.
Thanks a
All
lot.
right,
See you
nurses.
soon.